Alrighty, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Daily Roundup webinar. Of course, when I step away from the computer, I had to schedule a mechanic to look over our vehicle for a little trip we're doing. Had to get the oil changed, all that stuff. Of course, the market moves when I do that. And when you're sitting, when you're sitting here, the whole, like 90% of the other time, we don't get a lot of movement. But anyway, I'm not going to complain. I actually took some profits off the table on some of these trades. Let's talk. Let's start with the Aussie. I actually took the Aussie off. I was only planning on taking like partial position off, and I accidentally clicked the whole thing. So I took that profit off from overnight, but I just re-entered into the Aussie short, a little bit better price actually than I exited, so it's fine. The Aussie I still think is pretty, it's worth selling rallies here as long as we hold this 178. I think the risk reward is good for shorts as long as we hold below 78 cents, and looking for a move obviously back down to the neckline and hopefully even lower than that would be what I'm looking for. Whether or not we get it, we'll see. But it's interesting, just as I have been mentioning the last several weeks, you get a little bit of a sell-off in risk assets, and then the Aussie is going to come off, and it has. But I'm still on the fence whether equities are really going to have too big of a sell-off from current prices. We obviously have to get below this 4110 level in the S&P, and below that would open up the door for further losses. Now, there are some pairs that are continuing to show and really showcase the cracks below the surface of the market right now. And we're going to go through them really quick. So first and foremost is the dollar Canadian. Now, remember the Bank of Canada, rate decision this week, which is actually it's tomorrow. It's on Wednesday. That's going to be in focus, and I think it's going to do one of two things. It's going to send us right back to support, and then at risk of a new low, or we break above this 126.50 range, and we finally start recovering back up towards 129, 130. And this is, obviously what I'm hoping for, because I am long the US dollar Canadian. So, and I'm short Canadian yen. So that's, what I'm hoping takes place over the course of the next couple of days. The US dollar Norwegian krona, again, false breakdown, and, break back above 835. And this is another one of those cracks below the surface that we're seeing that really could set the stage for a much bigger, broader rally. I'm not convinced 100% yet, but it's setting up. And as I told you guys a little earlier, I picked up some U.S. dollar Norwegian krona again below the 134. This could really be, maybe I misjudged this break here as the Wyckoff, and maybe this is the break of the Wyckoff. Matter of fact, let me do something really fast. I mean, the sell-off here was not on like huge volume. That's big volume. That's not as big volume. So it's potential. I mean, there's potential there. I just think that the risk of a false breakdown here are pretty good, especially with crude. And let me take you over to crude oil really quick, and I'll come back to FX. Crude oil, coming off that 618 retracement. So watch crude. I've believed, and you've probably read the analysis the last couple of days, the basic technical analysis for crude oil, that we've been developing a triangle pattern. building this triangle pattern, we keep rejecting the $64 level. So the slump back below 63 might open the door for a move back below 60. Now, if we break below 60, I have no choice other than to be short Norway, short Canadian, So going into tomorrow, even if the Bank of Canada is a little bit more hawkish, if crude oil starts to break down, I'm going to turn around and just, get long dollar Canadian probably fairly aggressively. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for right now. A couple other things that are developing is you got the US dollar Mexican peso. I don't know if you caught this, but Andre put in a harmonic, I believe he put in a bat pattern, which would be this, I think is what he's looking at. Something like that. But anyway, I'm still looking at it as a wedge. So I'm looking for a move back above 120 or 20, and then that's going to be a bullish reversal. Like I said, this is probably my next pattern in play, bullish pattern in play if we break above 20. It is stalling ahead of 20, so let's just take note of that. Dollar Canadian, like I said, looks pretty decent. I'm surprised the U.S. dollar South African rand hasn't picked up yet, but I'm not gonna ignore it either. I am long a little bit, but a move back above this 1442 level should be a bullish reversal. The dollar index, nice hammer right at the 618 retracement. That's important, this daily candle on the dollar index. If the dollar index creates a hammer like that, it's going to suggest a reversal back up towards the 200-day moving average. So you want to be, looking at long dollars back up towards here, in my opinion. The Nasdaq, I do believe this is one of the risks to equity markets here. If the Nasdaq breaks below that, this pink line that I drew out yesterday, like this would be last week's lows, or close to last week's lows. I think it is last week's lows, the 12th. Yeah, right here. So, break below last week's lows and maybe that Friday, that's going to suggest that we had a false breakout. That's not good for risk assets, obviously. And let's take a look at some cryptocurrency here. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, again, is holding around 55,000, but really be watching. A break below 50,000 is really one of those things that I'll be looking for. And let's not forget that Bitcoin, I've seen it active like when no one else is looking at it. Everybody kind of is done for the day. They go home, they're finished, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin starts moving. So we should be watching it in Asia and when the market is fairly quiet. Jane said spring. What do you mean, Jane? Is it spring? Is it spring? Are we in spring? It's funny. I live in Arizona, so we have two. She said the Wyckoff, the U.S. dollar, Norwegian krone. Yeah, like a spring, or I like to call it a slingshot. It's like a Wyckoff could be here. Hold on, let me pull that up really quick. Give me a second. Where's my damn chart? Yeah, low volume failed sell-off is right here. So I think that's where we're at, and that's what may have been put in with U.S. dollar Norwegian krona. I might have, like I said, I might have misjudged it the first time around, thinking that this right here. Here, hold on, let me grab a pen. Let me grab a pen. I was thinking that this little move right here was that, but I think this might be that. So we would do this, that, and then rally, possibly. We'll see. But I think it's going to catch a lot of people on the short side. I was looking at comments yesterday on a lot of the, for a lot of traders, and they were pretty bearish the US dollar Norwegian krona yesterday. So anyway, we'll see. Irina writes in, Dear Blake, could you also please look at Bitcoin? Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just going to go there. So we were looking at Bitcoin, and, again, I'm not necessarily thinking that it's ready to break down, but I would be on a move below 50,000 or 50,500. That's when things will start to turn a little bit more bearish. Ethereum's holding up. Litecoin looks pretty reversey. Get that weekly candle, but I'm not excited about these cryptocurrencies one way or the other. But I think we have to watch them. I think they are important, instruments to be watching, because if they start to really move lower, I think that's, obviously going to give us a little bit of a heads up. Also keep an eye on this Euro Aussie. I think the Euro Aussie's had a nice move off of the support. I think if you can buy dips back down to like 55.30, this might be a play on the long side if you can get it. But the Aussie's looking weak right now. Like I just sold the Aussie, if you were in the chat room, I just resold it at 44, and here we are rolling back over again pretty aggressively. So something to keep an eye on. Dollar Canadian's at highs, US dollar Norwegian krona's near highs. So just a little heads up. I'm not fully convinced about this market, because you guys know, and I'm just going to point out maybe not so obvious stuff, but something that, is a characteristic of North American trade. We tend to rally this time of the day. So, whatever the highs or lows tend to be put in, especially if it's a sell-off and risk, we tend to put in these lows and then we drift up for the remainder of the day. It's going to be interesting if we see that dynamic shift today. So that's why I think you have to be on your toes. I don't, I'm not convinced that this market is reversing yet, but if we close the day on a weak note, that is going to really, get my attention for, the weeks ahead. Also keep in mind, guys, this is a generally speaking, a bearish time of the year. There's an old adage and an old saying, meaning it goes sell in May, go away. That means sell in May and go away for the summer, and you buy back in the fall for the Christmas rally. Because we've had such an elongated move higher in equities over the course of the last year, sell in May go away. The seasonal aspect of the market's pulling back could be coming a little bit early, like right now, and it could be a little bit more aggressive based on what we've done in recent years. So personally, I would not be surprised if we spent the summer, like between now and summer, drifting back towards like anywhere between 3,600 to 3,400 before rallying into the end of the year. And we closed the end of the year, basically at break even. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, guys. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that wouldn't surprise me on a year like this year, where so many good things have been priced into the market. Massive monetary policy has been enacted, and fiscal policy on top of that we get, we've been priced in for perfection, and we see a little bit of a pullback. Okay. So anyway, just a heads up and how I feel about current prices. Watch the S&P below 4,100. 4110 is obviously where I'm looking. You guys know that from the bias chart. I'm looking at this 4110 level in the S&P, but really just, below 4,100, and things might get a little messy, All right, guys. Hey, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I want to thank you for all of your support. You guys are awesomeness. and I will talk to you soon.